Okay, you may be new here, you may be someone that's come over from TikTok, but I've been a bit cookie obsessed since last year, and I'm still trying to really like perfect the whole royal icing cookie decorating. I'm determined that this is my year and it's going to happen. So I'm going to give it another crack. It's been a little bit, I've had a little bit of a break from it. I've got some cookies there that I baked for Christmas that I never actually gave to anybody. The cookie part I'm fine with. Fondant, okay, like getting the hang of all the tips and the tricks, but it's the consistency with royal icing that I'm just not getting. I think I might measure this out separately. I even got myself a projector and a stand for Christmas, which I haven't used yet. And I really want to give them a crack. But I need to get the consistency right first so that I can actually do some of that decorating. So I'm just making some royal icing. Okay, I'm gonna put that here. And then we need water. Let's give the powders a little mix. Don't want it to fly everywhere. Alright, I'm going to slowly add my water in. And I'm going to turn it up high and let it go for about 4 to 5 minutes. You can see it's getting the peaks. I might turn it up a little bit. For the last couple of minutes, I'm going to let it go. Okay, the icing is done. Now, I can make the royal icing, no problem. It's the consistency that I struggle with. So you can see that's done. That's perfect. It's not flopping straight off. It's got peaks. It's got lots of good peaks on it. She's good. Now is where I struggle, which is the consistency part. Now I've made a fairly big batch here, which I'm not going to use all of this. So I've got some airtight containers to put the rest in, but I'm going to do some white, and then I am going to colour some in this Tiffany. And I've got gingerbread and Christmas cookies, so I'm not doing like all the different colors to make like Christmas ones, because I just don't want to fart ass around that much. I want to try and get the hang of the consistency more than anything. And I'm also being a little lazy because I'm trying to use the one consistency for flooding and for border, so I don't want 2 separate bags. And I see heaps of people do it with one, and I'm like, why can't I? I did a cookie making class and we used one for most of it. I feel like that might be enough. So it's just to get the hang of the consistency, and then also doing the borders. I've got hiccups. Might do a little bit more in the Tiffany one. it's all going to fit in one, or if I need a couple. Need one of those loyal spatulas that are a spoon and a spatula in one. I wonder if maybe if I should put the little bowls on my scales and weigh the mils as I'm putting it in, so I know like a certain amount of mils. I should have actually weighed how much icing I put in, because then I'd know how many mils of water for how much icing, if that makes sense. Oh. Fucker. Containers are a litre, just so you know how much it is. That just went in there. I'm just going to add white into this one to make it extra white. And then we'll add our water for the consistency. I'm going to add the teal into this so it's got a chance to sit as well while I'm working on that one. That might have been a bit too many drops. I think that was like 3. I only really wanted 1. Oh, she's pretty. Look at that colour. And if you leave the colours, like if I put them in and then put them in their bags and leave it till tomorrow, the colours go even brighter. Similar to like hair dye on your hair, the longer you leave it, the longer the colours, like the easier the colours will set in and go brighter. I've learnt so many things about royal icing, just not perfected it yet. That's a really pretty Tiffany blue. Okay, I'm just going to let that sit while we do this one. Okay, I rewatched my video from my class around the consistency, and she's showing to do the 2, so have the border consistency in the flood. Maybe I should just do that and see how I go. So they recommended when I did the class using the little Doppler thingies, because you don't want to put too much water in at once. So I reckon like a teaspoon at a time. I don't know if that's a teaspoon. It's got no measurements on it, but I reckon it is about a teaspoon. So I'm going to put 1 in and mix it. So toothpaste consistency for borders. Now I don't know if I'm going to have enough royal icing here to do 2 separate bags, but she reckons that a tablespoon, like a decent tablespoon, will do like 40 cookies, the outline. I got no idea. When I did the class, the icing was already all made for us, so we didn't have to do it, which I think was probably the crappy part. It should have been that we do the icing. I thought it was going to be that way. We should have made the icing so we could have got a feel for how to do that consistency. That's not toothpaste yet, so let's put more water. I'll put another teaspoon. I know you don't need much water to water them down. I feel like that's kind of like toothpaste, but maybe a little bit more, because it needs to drop off, but in clumps. I'll put a half in. It should drop off like in a clump, but that did because it was a bigger bit. I feel like I'm going to put a bit more water. That was like another half. So all up, that's about 3 of those nozzle things filled. Just don't know if it should be dropping off a little bit faster in some clumps. I don't want it to be too thick that it doesn't come out. Let's do another half, and then I reckon that should be fine. Don't know why, but I feel like it's... Yeah, that should be okay, I reckon. What do you guys reckon? What do you reckon? If you're watching me, if you're watching and you're a professional at this, what do you reckon? I'm going to put some... in the bag. Put some in, so she reckons like a decent tablespoon will do like 40 cookies, so I don't know. I put a little bit more. That should be enough. Let's squidgy it down. Make sure we've got no bubbles. Alright, let's seal it. I do 2 because they don't always hold. Alright, I need to write on that bag. Okay, I've put a bit of a B on the red tape so I know that's for border. And we'll try and write on this one. So this one's flood. I need to get myself a texter. Okay, and now for the flood one. So I know some people do like the 15-second and then the 20-second, I don't know what they call it, but when they draw like the line through it to see how long until it joins back together. I'm going to put in 1.5 because I know that it's going to take a little bit more than 1, and give it a good mix. I'm probably not going to have much here in terms of like doing all the cookies, but that's all right. I'll just do what I've made enough for. So she says you want it to continually run off, which it kind of does, but it doesn't. You can see like it stops. Let's see how long it takes to like go back into itself if I did this. Okay, so I'm past 20 and it hasn't gone back into itself yet. So I'm going to put another half. Let's count. So that was about 12 seconds. So I think that's probably fine. If anything, that maybe has a little bit too much water, because preference is 15 would be good. Anyway, we will work with the 12 and see how we go. And then we're gonna put our blood into another bag. And then let's pour her in. Get the air bubbles out. And then close her up. So you can use a scraper or a knife, anything you've got to push it down. This is my scraper for two-toning. Oh, I just put a hole in the fucking bag. What the fuck? Maybe if I twist it and close it, it won't come out. It should be fine. If I close it, hopefully the hole's just above. I don't want to waste another bag. Okay, so now we've got our blood consistency. And then I'm going to do exactly the same to the blue, the Tiffany one. So let's get our border consistency. So I'm going to put 2 because I know that I did like 3 for the other one, but I'm going to do 2 to start with, just in case I've got less icing in this bowl. Oops. Okay, it definitely needs more because she's not clumping off. I'm going to do, that's nearly full. I'm doing these videos for my YouTube rather than my TikTok because 1, they take a lot longer, and 2, I think I've kind of like harassed enough people over on TikTok about cookies. I know I do get lots of questions over there asking to see me still doing the practice snacks. I don't share a whole lot of it. I will start to share more, but I want to share some longer videos over here on YouTube. A little bit more. We want it to clump a little bit, like dollop off a little bit faster, I think anyway. I could be wrong. I'm telling you all this like I know what I'm doing. I don't. I'm learning as I go. Well, been learning as I go for a little while with this. But this is the first time that I've also made it with a different recipe as well. So I'm hoping that that helps, because I was following an American one before. No, that's not clumping fast enough. So this has taken more water than the first one did. Maybe I have more icing in this bowl. Okay. I want just a tiny bit more. Just a few drops. Couple more drops. We want it to drop just a little bit faster. Otherwise it's going to clog the bag up. I think that is fine for the border. Let's try and do a B on the bag. I need to get a Sharpie. And then I'm just going to put like a decent tablespoon in. Maybe a little bit more. And I'm not going to push so hard this time. I might swap the scraper. That one's heaps thicker because it is for 2 creams. This one's a bit thinner. Oh, that's better. Let's water this down a bit more so we can do our flood. I'm going to put 1.5. I think it's just trial and error and keep on practicing until you eventually get the hang exactly of what the consistency looks like. And I'm not practicing enough at the moment. I'm also on holidays and I really wanted to practice because I want to use my projector. I don't think that needs any more. I think that's fine. How long is that taking? Okay, I think that's good. In case you're a newbie and you're trying to learn with me, I'm going to show you what it means by the way that it falls into itself. So you see watch how it ribbons, and then watch how it disappears into itself. I don't know if you can see that. You see how those ribbons fall back into the main part of it? That's what it's talking about. I'm thinking about doing cakes, some heart Valentine cakes this week. So I may record that and put that on here. I'm probably going to do a buttercream, like a piping course. I have my name on the list to do one, and she called back yesterday to say that they're now running it. I might just do one, because then I know the one is the flood. Hopefully that's okay for you to see. Got my scribe. I've got my border ones up here and my floods there, so I can try to keep them a bit separate. And I've just got a trees and gingerbread to start with. So let's cut our border ones. I'm going to do just small trims. I don't want to do too big, because if you cut too much off, you can't stick it back on. But if you don't cut enough, you can always cut a little bit more off, because I don't want like a thick borderline. I'll show you. I'm just gonna, I don't know if you can see how much I've chopped off. Okay, let's do the tree first. See if I've cut too much or not. I'm just gently pushing on the bag as I do the border. I don't want too much coming out. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. I think that was actually a good consistency. Let's pray that we've done it good today. And then I'm going to flood the whole thing white. So I'm going to do, just going to give that bag a little massage. I'm going to also cut, I'm going to cut probably about the same, because this consistency, don't forget, is a little thinner because we're flooding it. So we want it to come out a little faster. I may have actually cut a little tiny bit bigger the hole. I might have actually cut too much. It doesn't have to go right to the border, because we've got our scribe and we can help push it to the side. It's not holding that bag very good. I definitely didn't make enough icing. I'm going to use my scribe to push that. And for anyone that's learning along with me, when we were talking about how it falls into itself, that's because we want to know how long basically is until it starts to like crust a little bit. So you've got that 15 seconds to kind of fix it up before it starts to settle and crust. Now, I think I could have added a little bit more. I just haven't put enough in. But I think that consistency, I might add a little bit more to that bottom part, because I just didn't put enough in. Guys, I think I did perfect consistencies. I usually have a little piece of wet paper here as well to wipe like my scribe and stuff, but I didn't get it. It's got a couple of little air bubbles in there, but I think it's because I wasn't smooth. I was holding it like a moron, so I wasn't really doing like a smooth fill, but that consistency has worked out pretty good. It's just technique as well. Let's do the gingerbread man. So back to our border. Find it easier to hold the border ones like this. I'll put a photo in at the end of the video too of the cookies that I did when I did the class, because they turned out so bloody good. But as I said, I didn't have to make the icing because she'd already made it. But for a first time, they turned out pretty good. And then I've done cookies at home and they just haven't turned out as good because the consistency for the most part's been off. But also technique still needs to be practiced. It's literally something that you've just got to keep on having a crack at. Oops. I just dropped the plastic tip that I cut off. Luckily these are going in the bin because they're older cookies. No one's eating them. Alright, and then we're going to flood this one. That's better. Consistency, Mel, and technique. I didn't squeeze enough. I definitely won't be doing too many cookies today because I didn't make enough in the bags. I don't know where these professionals are coming from when they go, you only need a tablespoon, it will do 40 cookies. 40 cookies for fucking who? Because maybe I use too much, I don't know. But as long as they turn out and they don't crater, that's the main thing. And I'm sorry, that looks pretty damn good. Damn. So these will be left to dry overnight. I do have a dehydrator and I did get that out once, but it didn't really work that great. I keep thinking I should get another one. But let's do a blue one. Let's do blue. But yeah, I probably need another dehydrator, the one with the drawers, because I've got the round one. It just didn't work and it kept touching the things, the cookies, and it was like making all of the like icing come off. But I'm going to do some blue ones too. And then tomorrow when they've dried, maybe I'll get some of the other icing out and get another colour each. And then do some, like, I don't know, eyes or something on them. So this is the border. So I'm just going to do it a bit smaller than, you can see just the tip of it. I maybe cut that a little bit too thick, guys. That hole. Because that's a nice consistency, actually. I wish I had have weighed the bowls before I put the icing in, so I had an idea about how much icing was in there versus how much water I put. I'm going to do that tomorrow to give myself like a baseline. I think that would be really helpful. So let's cut, and actually I may as well just do the border on the tree as well. Because that border consistency on this blue one is, I reckon, looks pretty damn good. And I can see the difference in the recipe too. There was one that I made and I don't know what happened to it, but it was almost like it was see-through. Beautiful. Alright, I'm going to cut this a little bit smaller than I did on the white one because I feel like I did that one a bit too big. And then we just want pressure. And we're just going to flood around that outside. And I'm just going to use my scribe to fix up those little gaps and fill her in. This is the new scribe I got because it's got the scraper on the end, but I think I like the metal scribe better than these plastic ones. This one works okay, but I feel like because the metal ones are a lot pointier. God, I'm so happy with that consistency. Legend. If you're following and you're a newbie to this stuff, you know what it's like when you achieve something that you've been trying to do. But now I don't know if it's that I did better with the consistency myself, or was it the recipe? Is it a combination of the both? I don't know. Either way, it worked. I need to go through my cookie cutters to find like my decent heart size one, because I really want to give the bento cakes the 6-inch a go, because I was thinking about doing them for Valentine's Day. I bought the little bento boxes. I need to call the lady back tomorrow about the buttercream and piping class. Hopefully it's just not too much. Some of these classes are ridiculous. This is why I'm happy to do videos on here and help other people that are trying to learn as well. I love that colour. How pretty is that colour? Tiffany, like you're rich. But how good's that? That's so smooth and shiny. That's the recipe. That turned out so much better. But that consistency, I would like to say that it's pretty perfect, that I have done really well on that. Haven't done great with the outlining, a little bit out of shape, but that's pretty good. So exciting. Okay, we've got some more left, so we can do some more cookies. They're all trees, gingerbread, and candy canes that I did. I wonder if I should give a go the wet on wet. Use my flood or my border. I have no idea, but I'm going to use the border, I think. No, I'm going to use the flood. And do very thinly pressured because I don't want heaps to come out. And I'm just going to zigzag it. And then just get my scribe and just go and drag right through the middle of it. Oh my gosh. That's okay. Obviously could be better, but that's pretty good. Oh my gosh. Look.
Oh, that's cool.
So happy.
That's the autism of coming out.
How many times I tried to do this and I just couldn't get it. Okay, and then let's flood it. I made that one a little bit better because I gave more pressure to do like a flat line the whole way down. Has got a bit of a gap at the top where I corner forked it up. Alright, let's flood this one.
I mean, obviously, we're also going to see if I can find any good wigs which are not human hair, but synthetic and like very cheap, but good. Oh my goodness, so loud. Is this bothering you? So I think we're going to have to say goodbye to my hair. I know in the last video I was
that one was perfect. Okay, and then we're going to use, that's my border, the flood, and do a couple of dots. Don't know how this one's going to turn out. And then use the scribe and do the same thing. And then come back. Maybe not come back, maybe just go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I didn't have enough dots either. Okay, and then we want to go up. Kind of makes it like hearts. That one didn't turn out as good because I then went back. But this one turned out a bit better, but too many dots. So less dots and then just go straight up. And the aim is to try to do them on a cookie tray that you don't need to move them around, because when you move them, they end up with a higher chance of cracking once they dry. So I think if I knew I was going to do like wet on wet, I'd have another bag with extra flood in it with a very tiny hole cut. We'll leave that. And we will let all those dry. That's it for today. And we'll see how they look tomorrow after they've dried. I thought I'd show you the cookies after they've dried. They turned out so good, minus this, because my daughter was looking at them after I'd finished them, put them to dry, and she goes, and then wondered why the icing went in. I was like, are you serious? The bite is me biting them. They're not good enough. I don't think, like, I can't give them to someone. They've been in an airtight container, and I made them like a couple of days before Christmas. I think it was like 4 or 5 days before Christmas. But I was intending to take them and give them to people, but I hadn't got around to practicing the royal icing to do them, so I never gave them. So I've literally got 2 tubs just sitting there. But I wanted to bite it because I wanted to see how thick I had done the royal icing, to see if I want to do it thinner and to see how it tasted as well, because I didn't add flavouring, and it tasted perfect. It wasn't rock hard or anything. I think the thickness isn't too bad, but I would like it a little bit thinner. So that's just something I'm going to practice. But I'm not going to do anything else with these. That's my first practice run. Well, it's not my first because I've done many others, but it was my first practice run done where I got the consistency good. I'm actually going to make a fresh batch of cookies, some heart ones, and I'm going to practice what I want to do for Valentine's and just see how it turns out. Why not? So join me in another video for that. Thanks for tuning in, guys.